What if there was a fruit sitting on your kitchen counter right now, one you probably bought this week, one you might have eaten this morning, that was quietly pushing your blood sugar higher every single day without giving you any obvious sign that it was doing so? And what if at the same time there were 10 other fruits, most of them affordable and widely available, that could actually help your body manage blood sugar more effectively? Fruits that most people with diabetes or prediabetes have never been told about, because the conversation in a typical doctor's appointment rarely goes that deep. I know that sounds like a lot to take in, but stay with me, because by the time we finish here, the way you look at a bowl of fruit is going to be permanently changed. You're going to know exactly which fruits deserve a place in your daily routine and which ones you need to think twice about. And the reasoning behind all of it is grounded in real nutritional science and clinical research, not opinion or guesswork. My name is Dr. Victor Caldwell. I've spent more than 20 years working in clinical nutrition and metabolic health. And if there is one thing that frustrates me about the way blood sugar conditions are managed in standard medical practice, it's this. People get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, and the very first thing they're often told is to stop eating fruit. All of it. Because fruit contains sugar, and sugar is the enemy. Conversation over. I understand where that advice comes from. I genuinely do. It's a simplification that comes from a place of wanting to help. But it's the kind of oversimplification that ends up doing real harm, because it takes people away from some of the most powerful natural tools available for blood sugar management and leaves them in a more restricted, less nourished state without any of the benefit that was intended. Here is what the research actually shows when you look past the surface. Fruits are not all the same. Not even close. Some fruits release their natural sugars slowly and steadily because of their fiber content and their specific molecular structure. Others cause a sharp and rapid rise in blood glucose because the sugars they contain are easily and quickly absorbed. Some fruits are loaded with specific plant compounds, things like anthocyanins, flavonoids, and polyphenol, that have been shown in controlled clinical studies to improve insulin sensitivity, meaning they actually help your cells respond to insulin more effectively. Some fruits contain unique enzymes and acids that slow the digestion of carbohydrates and reduce the glucose spike from an entire meal, not just from the fruit itself. So cutting out all fruit is not the answer. The answer is understanding which fruits support your metabolic health and which ones undermine it. That is exactly what we're going to go through together right now. Let's begin with the first fruit, and this one surprises people almost every time. Blueberries. The immediate reaction I hear is, but they're sweet, they must spike blood sugar. And the reality is almost the opposite. Blueberries have a glycemic index of around 53, which places them in the low category. They contain roughly 3.5 grams of fiber per cup, which helps slow the absorption of their natural sugars. But the most remarkable thing about blueberries from a blood sugar standpoint is their extraordinarily high concentration of anthocyanins, the pigments responsible for their deep blue-purple color. Multiple studies, including peer-reviewed research published in major nutrition journals, have found that regular consumption of blueberries can improve insulin sensitivity by a measurable and meaningful margin. Your cells become more responsive to insulin, meaning your body needs to produce less of it to manage the same amount of glucose. That's not a minor benefit. That's a fundamental improvement in how your metabolism functions. Half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of plain blueberries daily, fresh or frozen, either is fine, is a well-supported, evidence-based habit for anyone managing blood sugar. The second fruit is one that many people don't even register as a fruit, and that's avocado. Botanically, it absolutely is one. And for blood sugar management, it may be one of the most valuable foods available to us. Avocados are exceptionally low in carbohydrates and exceptionally high in two things that directly support blood sugar stability: monounsaturated fats and fiber. A single whole avocado delivers around 17 grams of fiber, which is more than most people get in an entire day from all their food combined. That combination of healthy fat and fiber slows what's called gastric emptying, the rate at which food moves from your stomach into your small intestine. When food moves through more slowly, sugar enters your bloodstream more gradually, and your blood glucose stays far more stable. Research has shown that adding half an avocado to a standard meal can reduce the post-meal blood sugar spike by nearly 30% compared to eating that same meal without it. If you're not eating avocado regularly and you have blood sugar concerns, that is a very easy and very powerful change to make. The third fruit on this list is tart cherries. And I want to be specific here because there's an important distinction between tart cherries and the sweet cherries you typically find at the grocery store. Tart cherries contain substantially lower sugar and dramatically higher concentrations of anti-inflammatory compounds. This matters deeply for blood sugar because chronic inflammation is one of the primary drivers of insulin resistance. When your tissues are in a persistent state of low-grade inflammation, your cells become progressively less responsive to the insulin your pancreas is producing, and blood sugar control deteriorates. Tart cherries help interrupt that inflammatory cycle. Clinical research has found that regular consumption of tart cherries is associated with meaningful reductions in hemoglobin A1C, which is the marker your doctor uses to assess your average blood sugar control over a period of months, not just a single moment. You can enjoy them fresh when in season, frozen year-round, or as unsweetened juice. Just be careful to avoid any version with added sugar or syrup, which would completely cancel out the metabolic benefit. The fourth fruit is green apples, and the specific variety matters here, so pay attention to this. Green apples, particularly the Granny Smith variety, contain significantly less sugar than red apples and substantially higher amounts of a specific soluble fiber called pectin. Pectin behaves in a fascinating way inside your digestive tract. It absorbs water and forms a thick gel-like substance that physically traps sugar molecules as they move through your intestine, slowing their absorption into the bloodstream. Beyond this mechanical benefit, there is also emerging research suggesting that the polyphenol concentrated in green apple skin may help protect the beta cells of the pancreas, the very cells responsible for producing insulin. This means green apples may not only help manage blood sugar in the short term, but potentially support the long-term health of your body's insulin-producing capacity. One small green apple per day, eaten with the skin on, is an excellent and accessible choice. The fifth fruit is one that is wildly underappreciated in most Western conversations about nutrition, and that is guava. In tropical and subtropical regions, guava has been valued for its medicinal properties for generations, and the science is beginning to catch up with that traditional knowledge. The nutritional ratio of guava is remarkable. Approximately 3 grams of natural sugar alongside 5 grams of fiber in a single fruit. That fiber-to-sugar ratio is almost unparalleled in the fruit world. But what sets guava apart beyond its fiber content is evidence suggesting that specific compounds in both the fruit and its leaf can inhibit certain digestive enzymes responsible for breaking carbohydrates down into glucose. In practical terms, this means guava can slow the conversion of the food you eat into blood sugar. Not just the sugar from the guava itself, but the sugar from everything consumed alongside it. Published clinical research from medical journals has found that eating guava before meals leads to measurable reductions in post-meal blood glucose in people with diabetes. If you can find fresh guava, eat it regularly. Frozen guava is becoming increasingly available and works just as well. The sixth fruit is grapefruit, and I want to acknowledge up front that this one comes with an important caution. Grapefruit interacts with a significant number of prescription medications. So if you're taking any regular medication, please check with your doctor before adding grapefruit to your routine. But if you can consume it safely, grapefruit is genuinely exceptional for blood sugar. It contains a flavonoid compound called naringin that has been shown in multiple studies to increase insulin sensitivity and support more efficient fat metabolism in the liver. Research conducted at a major clinical center found that participants who consumed half a grapefruit before each meal experienced meaningful reductions in blood sugar levels. The mechanism appears to involve the way naringin interacts with insulin signaling pathways at the cellular level. Half a grapefruit before breakfast or your midday meal, for those who are able to eat it, is a powerful and evidence-backed strategy. The seventh fruit is strawberries, and they absolutely deserve their place on this list. 1 cup of strawberries contains only about 7 grams of sugar paired with 3 grams of fiber and a vitamin C content that exceeds what you'd find in an entire orange. But the component of strawberries that is most significant for blood sugar goes beyond basic nutrition. Strawberries are one of the richest dietary sources of a compound called physatin, which has been the subject of considerable scientific interest for its potential to protect against the complications associated with chronically elevated blood sugar, including damage to the kidneys and nervous system. Research has also found that physatin may help reduce the formation of advanced glycation end products, which are harmful molecules that accumulate when blood glucose remains elevated over time and contribute to the progressive tissue damage that makes diabetes so destructive in the long term. A cup of strawberries daily is not just pleasant, it's genuinely protective. The eighth fruit is pears, and they're frequently overlooked in this conversation, which is a real shame. A medium pear contains approximately 6 grams of fiber, much of which is concentrated in the skin, which is why eating pears with the skin on is important. Their glycemic index sits at around 38, making them one of the lowest glycemic whole fruits available. The combination of both soluble and insoluble fiber in pears creates a very effective physiological buffer against rapid sugar absorption. Research published in nutrition science literature has found that regular pear consumption is associated with a meaningfully reduced risk of developing type 2 diabetes in the first place. This isn't just a fruit that helps manage existing blood sugar problems. It appears to offer genuine preventive benefit. One medium pear with the skin on, eaten daily or several times per week, is a simple and well-supported dietary habit. The ninth fruit is kiwi, which is one of those foods that consistently impresses researchers with the breadth of its nutritional density relative to its small size. 2 medium kiwis provide around 4 grams of fiber along with significant amounts of vitamin C, vitamin K, and a diverse range of antioxidant compounds. What makes kiwi particularly interesting from a blood sugar perspective is research suggesting that eating kiwi before a starchy meal can measurably reduce the glucose spike that would typically follow. Scientists believe this effect comes from kiwi's specific combination of fiber, high water content, and natural enzymes that interfere with carbohydrate digestion. Kiwi also contains a unique enzyme called actinidin that supports broader digestive efficiency and nutrient absorption. Better overall digestion tends to translate into more stable and predictable blood sugar patterns throughout the day. 2 kiwis eaten before a carbohydrate-heavy meal is a strategy worth trying. The 10th fruit is lemons. And before you wonder how anyone actually eats a lemon, let me clarify. The benefit here comes from incorporating lemon juice into your meals and your daily routine rather than biting into one. Lemons contain pectin fiber and high concentrations of citric acid, and research has found that adding lemon juice to a meal can reduce the glycemic response to that meal by up to 30%. The acidity appears to physically slow the enzymatic breakdown of starches, which delays the release of glucose into the bloodstream. Squeezing lemon juice over vegetables, fish, salads, or grains, or drinking a glass of warm water with fresh lemon juice squeezed into it before a meal is one of the simplest, most affordable, and most effective blood sugar management tools that almost no one talks about. Now we need to address the other side of this conversation, because the picture would not be complete without it. There are fruits that can genuinely be problematic for blood sugar, and some of them are among the most widely consumed fruits in the world. Ripe bananas, specifically the soft, spotted, very sweet ones, are at the top of this list. As bananas ripen, their resistant starch converts progressively into simple sugars, and a fully ripe banana can push its glycemic index close to the medium to high range while delivering significant amounts of rapidly absorbed sugar. If you enjoy bananas, choose ones that are still slightly firm and yellow without browning, and always pair them with protein or healthy fat to slow absorption. But if your blood sugar is already elevated, the fruits listed earlier are far better choices. Pineapple is another fruit that frequently surprises people because it feels fresh and tropical and inherently healthy. But pineapple has a high glycemic index and a sugar content of around 16 grams per cup, and because it's so enjoyable to eat, portion control tends to go out the window quickly. Fresh pineapple in small quantities paired with protein is manageable for some people, But for those with significant blood sugar challenges, it is worth avoiding or consuming only rarely. Watermelon presents a similar challenge. It is hydrating and contains beneficial compounds like lycopene, but its glycemic index is among the highest of any fruit. The practical problem is that people almost never eat a small, controlled portion of watermelon. They eat large slices at summer gatherings without thinking about the cumulative sugar load. For anyone managing insulin resistance or diabetes, watermelon requires very careful portion management. Mangoes, despite being genuinely delicious and culturally significant across much of the world, contain a substantial amount of sugar. A single medium mango can carry more sugar than a can of soda when eaten in its entirety. Occasional small portions combined with protein are possible for some people, but for those with active blood sugar concerns, mangoes need to be treated with great caution. Grapes are deceptively easy to overconsume. They're small, they require no preparation, and they go down with almost no effort, which means it is very easy to consume a large quantity without noticing. The sugar in grapes adds up quickly, and dried grapes, raisins, are even more concentrated in sugar and should generally be avoided by anyone monitoring blood glucose carefully. Knowing which fruits support your health and which ones undermine it is genuinely valuable. But the how matters just as much as the what. Pairing any fruit with a source of protein or healthy fat, plain yogurt, nuts, seeds, nut butter, significantly slows sugar absorption and prevents the sharp spikes that cause the most metabolic damage. Eating whole fruit rather than drinking juice is non-negotiable, because juicing removes fiber and converts a balanced food into something that behaves much more like sugar water in the bloodstream. And timing your fruit consumption thoughtfully, earlier in the day, when insulin sensitivity tends to be higher, or before meals to leverage the digestive slowing effects of fiber, can amplify the benefits considerably. Managing blood sugar is not about restriction for its own sake. It is about choosing foods that actively cooperate with your body systems rather than overwhelming them. The 10 fruits covered here are not just safe, they are functional. They contain compounds that improve insulin response, reduce inflammation, protect the organs most vulnerable to blood sugar damage, and support the kind of steady, controlled glucose metabolism that your body was designed to maintain. That is real, accessible, affordable medicine that grows in orchards and markets all over the world. Use it wisely, and it will serve you well for years to come.